Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in this today video. Today we are going to talk about sorting and filtering using JSON. Before we start, actually, I just want to say that I'm cursed officially, and that every time I try to record a video, for some reason test mode, it's not working for me. As you can see right now, I have a total of 30 minutes in my test mode and 17 minutes. I'm left with 70 minutes, so almost 15 minutes. The test mode is not loading, and I tried to insert reload like 4 times, and it's not working. So yeah, sometimes test mode is not working, but run mode still works, so that's good. And yeah, so today we are like I said, today we are going to talk about sorting and filtering using JSON, using Apico, and like 99% of the time, the return will be a list of JSONs. So the idea today is that we are going to have you're going to have a list of users. So let me show you which database or which Apico we are going to use. Uh, I'll, I will post the link to this Apico. It's a get Apico. I'll post the link to this in the description so you can just do the same, try the same code and setup as me. Um, but yeah, the idea is that, so let me just show you how it works. So the idea is the sorting. So like you see over here, we have the names. I outputted the name, email, and the company name. So if I go over here, this is the name, this is the email, and this is the company name. So let me zoom a little bit probably so you can see better. So like I said, this is the name, email, and company name. And if we go over here, I will stop the test mode because we can see that this is not loading. And yeah, you can see it here. And the second name is Erwin, and the third name is Clementine. And the second name is Erwin, and the third name is Clementine. Okay, so that's good. It's the order, it's the sorting, it's the right sorting that it's coming from the Apico. And then let's try to sort it. So if I sort it by name, you can see I am sorting the list by names and successfully. And when I just click it, it just sorted the list instantly. And then if I go to email, so if I click on email and I want to sort it by emails, you can see again that the list is sorted automatically, uh, dynamically and instantly. And then if I click on sort by company name, I can click on sort by company name, and now you can see that Ab Abernathy, it's the company name that it's on the top, and the second company is Considinen or whatever it is, and Nicholas works in this company. So this is the one. This is the JSON. This is the record, and this is the name of the company. So what I want to show you is that you can actually sort even by inner JSON. So this is the main JSON, and this is the inner JSON, and you can sort with this code that I will provide you. You can actually sort by inner code. So for example, you can sort by the street address, the street, and wherever you want to. And the last thing is that we have default sorting. So if I click default sorting, it will actually revert back to um, the main to the initial sorting that we got from the Apico. And also you probably saw that this is going to be back to the default value, which is sort by. And then this is how sorting works. And let me show you how filtering works. So let me say that, for example, I want to see every name that begins with Cleme, for example. and then I want to, the string needs to contains, because I have two options here, equals or contains. So let's contains, and then what I want to search again, name, what I want to filter, name, email, and company. Let's say I want to filter by name. And if I click filter, now I can see that only two names in the they are outputted. And also that you can see that I have this reset button, which if I click, everything goes back to the way it was initially. So this value, it's empty now, and those are the initial states of the values. So with that in mind, let me search by, so let's say that I want every email that contains the word biz or .biz. Let's say .biz. And then I want to be contains again, and I want to be equal the email contains, and it's filtered. So in this way, I get April das biz, Billy das biz, and Katrina das biz. And that's correct. If we go actually to this list and I click and I search for that biz, we have one, two, and this is a website, it's not an email, three. So we have three results. Which is correct, and here we have the three results as well. We can actually, I didn't put that, but we can actually output the results as well. It will be very easy. I would try to not forget to show you. So let me actually show you how this works. And let's start with sorting. But before we actually start with sorting, let me actually show you how you can show the results as well. So if I go over here and let's say that we have, let's say that we want to, first of all, let's copy the condition. Let's copy the condition. Then let's go back to, and let's warp up this inside a row, for example. And then in this row, we can have a text, and this text will be a combination of text, and this will be like total results, and then the total results will be this is coming from the user's data. So this is coming from the app state user data, and we want to take only the number of items. So let's take the numbers of items, and that's it. And now we can actually paste this. So we can make a condition over here, paste this condition over here, and then we can safely remove this condition from here. So it's the button, this is the condition, let's remove it. Okay, and now let's run this in the meantime while I am showing how I did that, and then we can actually see if this works or not. Okay, so this is the page. Let me zoom a little bit. What I have in this page is the title, which I renamed this time, so it's sorting and filtering, and then I have a drop down. So in this drop down, like I said, we start with the filtering, we start with the sorting, like it says over here, and then what we have here. So we have the name, email, company name, and the company name, keep in mind, is the path to the JSON. So if you want to sort by company and the name of the company, just make sure that you write company with lowercase or uppercase. It depends on your API code. Make that sure as well. Those needs to be the same. If you from your API code this name is uppercases, just make sure that this is the defined options value, it's uppercase as well. In my case, it's only lower cases, so that's why I have name with lower cases, email with lower cases, and like I said, if you have deeper levels, make sure you write company dot, and then what you want in my example is the name of the company. Okay, and then the final thing is the original one, which will be sorting by the original one, but we'll get through it. This will be the last thing that I will explain about the sorting. And then we have the labels. So this is important that the values, this is like very relevantly new, like from a couple of months ago, that the values and the labels can actually be different things. So valued labels can actually be different things. And then we can actually write sort by name, sort by email, sort by company name, and default sorting. So we can actually write wherever we want to, but the values is actually the one that matters. So this is how I set up my dropdown. And if I go over here on my dropdown, I have 3 actions in total. So first of all, I have a condition, which is actually checking if the drop-down value it's original. So if it is original, then my action is that I have users data. So let me just show you my initial setup. So let me just show you. So before we continue actually with the sorting and the filtering, I wanted to actually show you while working with the JSON data and APICos, what is actually the most efficient way you can do this. So if I go back to my APICO, so if I go to APICos, and this is my APICO. So like I said, this is the address. It's a very simple APICO. It's a GET request, and this is the APICO. And we have users. So if I go to response and just click test APICO, this is the response, and you can actually see that this response is the same, exactly the same as this one. And of course, they're the same because when we actually open this page inside a browser, it's also a GET request. So that's why we're getting the same response. And now if I go to recommended, and then I can actually see all the recommended paths for my request from the APICO. But so this is the most important part, is that I never actually use the recommended paths, and I never select none of my APICos. I never use this function actually. And the reason for that is that when I use this function, when I use this functionality to select something, so let's say for this example, I want to use the name, right? So let's select this and then go to select it. So now I am having a list of names. This is outputting a list of the names that I get from my response. But this is not great, because in reality, what I want to have is I want to have the entire JSON. So this is one JSON, and containing everything or all the information that I have from the response. And this is another JSON over here. So this one is another JSON. I cannot mark it, I don't know why, but you get the idea, right? So you get this is the whole data that you get from the JSON. And if I actually try to get, so for example, let's say that I get the name, like I said, this will only get the names outputting the JSON. So imagine that you only have this information. So only have this information, and everything else will be stripped out, which is not what I want. And apparently, and I think this is like most of the user, it's not what they want. So how I set up my APICos. So like I said, if I go back to APICos, I have this APICO. This is it's a GET request. And then I have 2 things in my app state. And this is because I'm using sorting and filtering. If I don't use sorting and filtering, I will not have app states as well, at all. Sorry. And I have 2 app states. One is user data, which is a list of JSONs, and then I have initial data, which is a list of JSONs again. Those are empty over here. I don't have anything. anything here, and persistent, it's actually false both in both values. And then if I click over here, this is how I created. So users data, and this would be a JSON, and this will be a list of JSON. I'll click create. I will not create it right now because, like I said, I already created, and you can see it over here. Like I said, this is the users data, and I have the initial data, which is a list of JSON again. So you have to make sure that you have those two. And then if I go back to my setup, it is actually first thing that I do is that when you're using Apicos, you have two ways to call your Apicos. First, you can call it from here, which is a backend query. And if I add a backend query, you can have an Apico, and this is users. And this is one way. And another way you can do it with the action on the scaffold, for example. And I can open this. So this is on page load, and I have the same Apico. So you have the back end call Apico. You can see it over here. And then my Apico is users. This users is actually will return. In my case, there the most important part is that you have this action output variable name, which in my case it's users data will be actually the whole JSON. So imagine that everything here, everything here will be inside this variable users data. And then I make here, an Apico. Actually, I just wanted to say real quickly that if you want to get Firebase data, because Firebase data you cannot get it from action, you can actually do this as well. You can follow my channel. I already did a lot of videos about that, how you can do it if you, in case you need it. Like I said, and those are actually over here. So you have the like bunch insert, bunch update, and I have retrieving lists and single documents from custom function in FlutterFlow. So this is how you can actually do this the same with Firebase. But like I said, this is not about Firebase, this is about Apicos. So this is the user data that I'm going to get as a response. Like I said, everything that is over here. And then if the Apico is successful, this is like a normal Apico response. I think, not sure, but I think this should be Apico users data, and this should be like that. Yeah, it should be like that. I don't know why it says. Maybe this is the old name and I didn't change it. I don't know why it works, but anyhow. So if I click over here, so if everything is true and I get a response, what I'm going to do is I am going to find update app state, find users data, which is the list of JSONs, set value, and then this will actually overwrite. If I have something in my users data, it will actually overwrite it. When I click on set value, it will overwrite it, everything. And we'll write the new value, which the new value is $JSON. So if I click over here, like I said, this is coming from action outputs. It is user data, and then JSON body, JSON path, and then custom, and just the $sign. I put here only the $sign. And then, which the $sign actually means that I want to get everything that I have in my response, everything here, like the whole thing, like everything here. This means the $sign. And if I actually click on name, like I created, I actually didn't save it, but here you are the paths that you created. And if I save the name and I put it name, it will only say the names. It will only, like I said, it only take the names. So that's why I don't do it like that. Make sure to don't do it like that. Just make it the way I'm doing it. I think this is the most efficient way. So like I said, because this is getting all the information. So it's JSON path name, and then custom, and then the dollar sign. And after that, I put the whole information over user's data. And the second thing that I have to do is I have to do the same. I have to actually do essentially the same thing, but put the same data inside initial data. And why I'm doing this is because I want to keep the initial data, because when I'm resetting my sorting and my filtering, I'm actually reverting back to my initial data. That's why I need to have the initial data. And the rebuilding, it will be rebuild current page. Okay, so we're done with the 3 actions on the scaffold. And then when we click on the sorting, so let's go back to the sorting thing. So when I click on the sorting, what I am doing, like I said, the first thing that I'm doing is that make sure that, so I'm checking if the drop down, so if the sorting, which is the drop down 1, if it's equal to original. So if it's equal to original, that means I want to revert back the changes. So in this case, I'm setting the user data set value to initial data. So I'm setting the user's data in app state to app state initial data, which is the initial data. This data never changed. And the user's data actually changed. So that's why I can set it to the user's data, because the user data changed. So setting this action like this will actually revert back to my original or initial data. Okay, and then no further changes. And the second thing that I do is that I want to reset the button. So I want to reset the drop down, and this is how I do it. Reset form fields. This is actually something new. I don't know if you saw it, but you have a new actions, which is resetting, and you have resetting forms. Then you have the drop down in this example, and this is how I done it. But I only reset the first drop down because the first drop down is the sorting, and the 2 drop downs over here are for filterings. I don't want to reset the filtering. I only want to reset the sorting. And then here, if it's false, so if this is not the original, if the user didn't select, so if the user didn't select the original, which is, for example, he select name or email or company, it will go over here to false. And when it go to false, it will actually run a custom function. So again, we have the user data set value, and then we are running this through a custom function. So let's go to custom functions, and the one that I am running through will be sort JSON. And when I run through sort JSON, let me show you the actual code for the custom function. The code will be available like always in my GitHub. So it will be here, custom functions, and you can click it. It will be also in the description below. So what is the idea of this custom function? It will actually take the data, and it will take the field that you want to sort by. So there are two arguments that they're going to be that you need. And what is the code actually doing? It is actually checking if you have dot. So in my case, company, if it's company.name, it will actually check for that, and if you actually take the name of the company. And then here's the actual sorting thing that is happening. And the end, it will actually return the data, but this time sorted out. And like I said, I have to put 2 parameters, and the 2 parameters that I'm putting is the user's data, which is the list of JSON, and this user data is actually coming from the app state. This time it's not coming from the output anymore. It's coming from the app state. It can come from the output as well, to be honest. It's the same thing. And then the sorting, it's actually coming from the drop down 1. So that's why I am saying that this thing should be the same. Like, that's why I'm saying that this name, email, company.name should be the same as your response data that is coming from over here. Okay, and then let's go back to sorting. This is the sorting part, and let's go to the filtering. So going back to the going to the filtering. So what we have over here. So the initial thing is the same. So we have the scaffold. Like I said, we have the apico, and this apico, it's putting users data. It's putting the apico inside user data, only the $sign, and it inside the initial data as well. And it's rebuild current page, and this is rebuild current page. Okay, and then we have we have a form filter value. So this will be the filter value that we want to filter by. So for example, the name or the name contains on part of the name or email or whatever we're searching for. So we write it over here. And then we have the options. So we have currently I wrote 2 options, but of course you can actually have as many options that you want. But I think I wrote the most popular one, which are equals and then contains. And we have those are the values, equals and contains, and those are the labels, equal and contains. And make sure you write the values the same way that I wrote it over here, because if you don't write it like that, the code will actually not work. The custom function will not work. Then we have filter by. Again, filter by, make sure that you write them here as well, the same. So if you want to filter by name, if you want to filter by email, if you want to filter by company.name, and company.name, like I said, it will be a nested thing. So it will be company and then .name. It will be the path to the company. If you want to get company BS, it will be company.bs. Again, with lower cases if our data is with lower cases. If it's upper cases, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So like I said, here is the name, the email, company.name. And then this is the name, the label will be name, email, and company name. And the final thing, the most important part, is actually the actual filter. So when we click on the filter, we have one action, only one action. And this action is actually updating the app state, and the app state that we're going to update, it's user data, and this is a list of JSON, and this is set value. And when you did it with set value, it's actually, as I said, rewriting the value that we have. And here we are getting to again we're getting to a custom function, which in this case it's a filter. It's filter JSON is the name of the custom function, and we have here in this custom function we have 4 arguments. One argument we have the actual data, which is coming from the app state users data. We also have the field, which is coming from, let me show you, which is coming, the field it's coming from this one. This is the field, sorry. So it's coming from this dropdown, which in my case is the 3rd dropdown. Then we have the operation. The operation is coming from the 2nd dropdown, which is this one. This is the operation that we want to do. And the last thing is the value. And the value is coming from the text field. So, this will be, so let me just show you what I mean. So this is coming from the app state. So it's coming from app state users data. Then the field is coming from the field that we want to filter it by. It's coming from the dropdown. So if I go to user state, it's dropdown number 3. And then we have the operation, which is coming from users, widget state, and this is dropdown 2. And the last thing, it's again user. Why I'm saying user? It's widget state and text field filtered value. Okay, and that's about it. Let me show the actual function. So if I click on edit function, the function name is called filter JSON, and we have, like I said, those 4 parameters over here. So the first thing that we do is that we set a new list of JSONs, which is list of dynamic, and the name of it is filtered list. And then we loop through the actual data. We loop through the actual data, and then we say if it's a match. So we say if it's a match. So if we have a match, put this value to the filtered list. And here actually it's something that I forgot to mention is that even if we try to use lower cases or upper cases, this will actually still, it should still actually work. So let me just reset that and let me show you what I mean. So if I click dot bus and go contains email, you should find me those 3 records. But if I reset it and I do it with the upper cases right now and do it contains and the email, and it's still working. So this is the whole idea, is that it doesn't matter if it's lower cases or upper cases, it will still find a match over here. And then, yeah, this is the code. Like I said, the code will be available in the GitHub repo and also in the description of this video. And then this is how this works. And I actually forgot to mention how I display the data, because this is something very important as well. So let me go back to the working with API responses in JSON. And like I said, now the first things first is to take the data. So this is the initial code to the backend or the initial GET request. And then when I get the data, it doesn't matter if you get it from the backend or if you're getting, so it doesn't matter if you get it from here or you get it from, like I did from the APICO, I put it in the, sorry, the app state. So I put it in the app state. But the most important part is that go to generate dynamic children. When you go to generate dynamic children, so you can see over here that I don't have my add backend query, it's empty. And that means that I actually can use backend queries not from the same widget. This is very important because I think most of the people are thinking that you have to only use the backend query and generate dynamic children from the same widget. No, this is not the case. It can come from anywhere. It can come from another widget that needs to be upper in the hierarchy or the widget tree. It can come from an action output. It can come also from app state in my case, and it can come also from a page parameter. It can actually come from any place that possibly you can think of. And then here, what I'm doing is that I need list of JSONs or list of anything. In this case, because dynamic is anything. And then here I'm just getting the user's data, which is actually in the app state. So I'm getting the user's data over here, and I'm putting it as my value. And then, like I said, the only thing that if this is coming from a backend query, you will put the most important part is that you put the $sign as a JSON path. So let me show you one more thing because I think this is very important. Where I'm saving the data, I will get the response and then I put the JSON body, JSON path custom, and I put only the $sign. And like I said, this $sign, we actually get my entire JSON, and not only certain elements of the JSON, like only the names. So this will get the whole JSON. And then when I go back over here, I have the user now. So this is a single user. Make that sure you understand that this is a single user. And then if I go to the name, this is how I put the name I get over here. So this is I get the item. So you will have, if you set up everything right, you have the user item, and then you click on the user item, and then you have the JSON path, and you click again $sign. So make sure that you put again $sign and then .name. So first of all, when you put the $sign is the whole thing, and then when you put the $sign is that you're saying that I want only this one, only this value over here. Okay, and then the second one is the email. It's again JSON path $sign email, and it's coming from user item, which is coming from here, like I said. And then the last thing is the company name, which is $company.name. So make sure that you have, in my case over here, this is the right path to put. And like I said, this is coming from this widget generated by children, and this is coming from this action. This actually coming from the app state, and the app state is coming from this action on the scaffold. Okay, great. So we are almost ready now. Let's see actually if the if we search something. So let me zoom a little bit. So we added. So let's put that. It's not working right now. Okay, so let's put that bis email and filter. Yeah, so you can see I have 3 results. Now I can also have the numbers of results. And let's say what about if the name begins with or contains clay, and this would be the name filter. We only have 1 result. So if I filter this right now, I actually have more than 1 result. This is strange. Okay, or yeah, I have clay contains and name, and I think I know why this is happening. I'm not really sure. So that we have 2 right now. So I don't know why actually. Maybe because I have the lowercase. I'm not sure. If I click with the lowercase or the uppercase, yeah. But let me search for every email that contains lowercase. So let me sure that I have 3 results. Okay, is that right? So I have, this is the email, this is email 2, and this email 3. So yeah, this is about right. It's about right. Okay, and the last thing that I want to show you is that, because I didn't actually show you that you can actually search for the whole thing. So if I want to search for the whole email, I put the whole email and put equal to, and I put the email filter, and this is the whole email. So this is how filtering is working. And before we actually begin, I just want to make sure that I just want to say you that filtering, sorting is okay to do it on the front end, but when you have filtering, just make sure that the filtering is done through the API code. So what I mean on the back end. So what I mean by that is that when I go over here and when I go to users, and I want to get all the users, but I want to actually filter them. So what I will actually do is I will have a name, and this name will be a string, and I will have a name, and here in the query parameter I will have a name here as well. Or let's say email. Let's say email, and this will be my email, and this will actually come from variable, and this will be the email. And here I actually can have email. So this will actually generate. So if I go over here and I'll say, let's say that the email is flutterflow.io, and then support at flutterflow.io, or contains this flutterflow.io. This is actually my link. This is my link. It's automatically putting a question mark and then the field name, and then equals to whatever we are searching for. And make sure that, like I said, it's very important to make sure that when you're using filtering, do it on the back end. Don't do it on the front end, do it on the back end. And for the sole reason is that when you are actually when you're actually doing the filtering through the back end, you're outputting your response will be, for example, 10 records and not 10 million records on or 1,000 or 10,000 records. Because in this way that I just showed you, it will actually you actually get the whole response, and then you will filter it through. If you want to filter through the whole response, okay, that's a good idea. You can do this. But if you want to actually filter, the best thing is to filter this way. There is another way actually, so this is one way, and the other way to actually filter the data will be to actually um, use add to backend query, and then you can use cache data as well. But using cache data this way, you cannot actually put the result in the app state, and putting the result to app state, the sole reason for putting the result in the app state will be to be actually dynamic. So we don't need to actually refresh the page or do something else. It will be actually dynamic. It will actually work the same way that filtering and sorting is actually working in Firebase itself. So yeah, I hope that worked, and I hope this video actually learned you something, and I hope it was useful. And I just wanted to finish that saying that this is my calendar, and we actually have this live events which are every Wednesdays, and you can actually join the live events. If you have any questions, make sure to subscribe, or not subscribe, but to submit to the live events, because we have a limited spots. And right now for the next live event, we only have 3 spots. So yeah, make sure um, that you put your name here. Okay, so thank you very much for joining, like I said, and have a nice day. Great. Goodbye. Take care.